Now, let's talk about planning for the actual installation itself. The first thing to do is to verify whether this version of Linux is supported on the version of Power System server that you're running. So, for example, you may want to install Fedora on Power, but it may not be supported. So make sure you know the version you're installing is supported and will work. Next is to verify if there are any device drivers that you may need to install once the operating system is set up. To check if the devices are supported and to find any drivers, go to this website. Now, I'd like to introduce the concept of the prep partition. When booting, the firmware will look for something to boot from, let's say the CD drive, and then the first SCSI disk. On the SCSI disk, it will look for a special partition called a prep boot partition. On this partition, it will read the first program it can find. If this is a Linux kernel bootloader, it will read and run this, and then the bootloader boots Linux. From here, Linux is in charge, so you can plan and change anything else other than the prep partition. Before starting the installation process, the disk and the file system layout should be determined. Once the disks have been physically partitioned and formatted with a particular file system type, it's difficult to switch to another layout. For systems that will have both AIX and Linux installed, the disk drive names should be reconciled to make sure that neither will be accessing the same drives. AIX and Linux cannot share a disk. AIX assigns an HDiskN name to the disks. Initially, these are ordered in the same order that are discovered on the various PCI and SCSI, SSA, and FC systems. The order of the HDisks can be confusing if disks are replaced or moved. On Linux, the disks have names like /dev/SDA or /dev/SDB for the first two SCSI disks. So be very careful if you have AIX and Linux on the same machine. Often it's best to work out the PCI and SCSI numbers to be safe. Now, as you may have guessed, we'll have to get the installers for the Linux operating system. We can get either a DVD of Linux and mount it on the server and then install from there, or do a network-based installation. RHEL comes in a single DVD, whereas some SLES versions may come in two DVD versions. Network installation would require a source from which you install the operating system. Ubuntu is available for free without support. RHEL and SLES are fee-based with license fees going to Red Hat and SUSE respectively. And there are other community-supported operating systems which will run on Power, but we don't talk about those so much in the course. Next, we'll talk a little bit more about installation details.